Yes, you read the title right. I have decided to become a troglodyte, and this is the unholy hill that I'm going to die on.
Dear God, no.
The pirate from Team Fortress 2 has a bit of a stigma around it, that it's a low-skill class that requires no aiming to be effective, and, well, you know what? Yeah, to agree, you're right. The Pyro is definitely one of the easiest classes to pick up and be somewhat effective on, a close second being Heavy. And with that, the Phlogistinator is probably the biggest contender for the most hated weapon in TF2, and for relatively good reason. It can let you go on disgusting server-clearing rampages seemingly for free. Pyro already doesn't have to aim, so if you add free crits on top of that, then you have a pretty busted weapon on your hands. But then, hold up a minute. If the Phlog is so good, then why doesn't everyone use it? I mean, I don't see it used nearly as much as Stalker the Degreaser, and if it's so brain dead, then what's up with this? Well, if you go over the stats, you'll see this one big glaring problem. It can't random crit. No, I'm messing with you, can't air blast. I know there's this meme for pyros that all they do is WM1, but you're forgetting about arguably the best attack in all of TF2, the air blast. See, the air blast is the ultimate denial tool. It can deny Ubers, rockets, stickies, demo knights, and just put space between you and the enemy. There's a lot to this, and in the hands of someone who has the reaction time to use it effectively, you basically cancel the two biggest damage dealers in the game, and have a mildly reliable way to do with level 3 sentries. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not necessarily the best with Air Blast, which might make you think that's why I'm defending the one singular flamethrower that can't Air Blast, but no, that's not the case. My personal favorite is actually the Dragon's Fury, but Valve won't release a strange one, so it's dead to me. And I don't understand, you can already put a war paint on it, why can't we make it strange? The truth of the matter is, the Phlog is just fun. Alright, let's back this up a bit. What is it and how does it work? The stats for the Phlogistinator as are follows. No random crits, no air blast, and after 300 damage, you fill up an oomph meter that'll let you activate 10 seconds of guaranteed crits minus the duration of the taunt. Now, on paper, this looks pretty overpowered, but it's really not. Don't get me wrong, the Phlog is bad. It is really bad. The ability to air blast is so crucial to a good pyro that not having it is a massive handicap. And at most, the Phlog can sometimes stop a push assuming the enemy gamers don't have Uber, and in a push, they probably do, or should. And keep in mind, you actually need to get your crits before you can do anything. 300 points of damage doesn't seem like a lot until you realize that the Pyro is a short-range class with a medium health pool and normal walking speed. And with Air Blast removed, you no longer have any defensive utility and will become easy fodder for any of the explosive classes. Now, this would justify the Phlog as is, but you're forgetting one big thing. There is one weapon that makes that 300 damage seems like child's play. Satan's firearm itself, the Scorch Shot. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like an absolute tool using this thing while on any flamethrower. It's just a way to annoy snipers and minorly inconvenience the enemy teams. But here, with the Phlog, it's an active problem for whoever you're shooting at since it'll likely become your new primary. In my opinion, there are two reasons why the Scorch Shot is the go-to option for this. One, it's really easy to spam, and while it won't kill most times, it'll certainly rack up that oomph meter. And second, your oomph meter only fills up via fire damage. If I had one thing that I could change about this weapon, it would be that specific stat. Because it means that your shotguns are not really usable, and since the gas passer doesn't add to it since you're not the one actively doing the damage, which I would like to point out was super disappointing, as the gas passer to me seems like such a cool concept that was poorly implemented, and if it counted even a quarter of the damage it caused, then at least there'd be some use for this weapon. The Man Melter is also pretty good as a supportive tool since you can put out your teammates. And you don't totally miss out on the overall offensiveness that the scorch shot gives, because if you can land your crits, those will fill up your meter pretty fast too. And the other upside to this is when you're using your flares as a primary, you actually chew through your 16 reserve shots pretty fast. So in this case, the unlimited ammo is actually pretty damn useful, since nearby ammo packs would better be used by your friendly engineer. I will say, however,
This is what happens to maggots who don't subscribe!
the flare gun is actually pretty damn fun to use with the Phlog. I actually think that if you're good with the flare gun, and you're in a map with fairly close quarters, this is actually better than the scorch shot, since crits can not only burst down enemies, but that crit damage also counts to your Phlog charge. So it becomes a legitimate contender for best in slot with this playstyle. But in most maps, the scorch shot is definitely the best option, just because of how easy it is to spam. Alright, so you finally got your oomph ready, and you've got your crits, and now you're dead. Let's address this. I won't argue that the Phlog doesn't take skill, but I would say that there is a solid argument that it does take a decent amount of game sense and experience to use effectively. If you don't get what I mean, let me explain. While the only mechanical action that the pyro will have to do with this is WM1, that's not the only part of it. The difficult part of using the Phlog is knowing when to pop your crits and knowing when to bail, whether it wastes your crits or not. Because if all you do is pop and mindlessly run into the enemy, for every team wipe rampage you manage to get, there will be 10 others where you fail to even reach the enemy team in the first place, much less do any significant amount of damage. Because here's the thing, when you pop those crits, all eyes will be on you. You become the enemy's biggest target, your weapon is glowing with crits, and you're basically a melee class. You're literally a walking target, and anyone with more than 10 hours in the game will see you as a priority. And I'm not exaggerating. A crit pyro is absolutely devastating, arguably just as or more so dangerous than a crit demo or soldier in certain circumstances. And with that in mind, as aggressive as the Phlog may seem, sometimes you're gonna have to be very passive and choosy on how you use those crits. And that's not even mentioning having to stay alive so you don't lose your crits once you've gotten them. I've found that the Phlog is best used on defense, since you can taunt to get your crits ready as the enemy team is attacking. So that way you're waiting for them to come to you, and your crits will actually be active and ready once they reach the control point or wherever it is that you are waiting. Now with this, there is one little tool, something that doesn't have a direct effect on the Phlog itself, but is arguably the most important part of this playstyle, the power jack. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's because of the straight damage increase, right? Well, that certainly helps, yes, but it is deeper than that. Your crits only apply to the Phlog, so no other weapon glows even if your crits are active. So along with the speed boost, you'll also have no big "look at me, I have crits now" sign on your head, so once you're actually at or in the middle of the enemy team, you can catch them way off guard. There's only one thing other than killing a pyro that can survive crits, and that's an Uber. It's annoying as hell to get crits and then suddenly the heavy medic combo who you thought you were gonna take down pops Uber and you can't do anything else but die. But even though you're the one dying in this scenario, the enemy still popped their Uber for a singular pyro and your team won't have to deal with it later. If you ask me, I don't think the Phlogistinator is overpowered or broken. I actually think it's one of the more well-balanced weapons in the game. Sacrificing Air Blast for the chance to get crits is a good trade-off. And I don't think the ability to have other damage like your flares charge your meter is overpowered either. I think that issue specifically lies on the scorch shot being a bit much to deal with. Listen, I really like this weapon, but losing Air Blast along with basically all of your team utility is a lot to give up for a few seconds of crits, and the fact that spamming choke points with the secondary is the best strategy is a bit much. Especially when the only time this weapon is going to wreck face is when you're already winning a round. It's really nothing more than a short dopamine rush once in a blue moon. But I will say, they do make for some pretty good clips, so go ahead and enjoy these. I'm gonna be honest, I wanted to make this video for the longest time, but because of the TF2 bot crisis, it became pretty much impossible to play Pyro in any situation, since you're just at that threshold of health where one headshot can pretty much shut you down, especially since the squirt shot doesn't really annoy bots since they're bots and they'll insta-give you anyway. But now that Valve seemingly seems to go ahead and be fixing this, I'm not exactly sure, but I certainly have seen a lot less bots showing up in my lobbies lately. I have been able to do it, I made the video, and I probably never gonna use this weapon again. I wish I was making this up. I have played 200 hours specifically for this video with the Phlog, and I don't want to touch this anymore. I want combo Pyro to be meta again. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. This video was admittedly pretty fun to make, and I do like TF2, so if you guys have any other topics on this game specifically that you would like me to talk about, go ahead and leave in the comments below, because I mean TF2 is pretty fun to play, so I'm okay with doing more of this.